Hey, it's me. It's on time, just as I promised, 8-ish. It's nice to do whatever you say you're gonna do. And I always try to do that, which isn't to say that things don't always work out that way. That's what today is about, when things don't go as planned. Well, you knew the day would come, and here I am in my pajamas. Hey, it's after 8 o'clock, and I am tired. It was such a week, and then I was back at work today, so, down at the campground, so it's been pretty busy, but I could not do my visit with you. I mean, that's what this is all about, how I spent my Corona confinement and making it with metaphysics. And that's what I want to share with you about today. Well, it wouldn't be, it seems, these days, one of our visits if it weren't for our National Day calendar. And so today is National Random Acts of Light. And that means that it is a day where we shine a light on the darkness of Cancer. I will share a little bit more about that with you later. It is also National Kitchen Klutz Day. Boy, I would really like to find ways to help those folks who feel they are kitchen klutzes, because eating is such a joy. And cooking really is a joy, and it's an adventure, and it's one of those things that we came to think it has to go exactly right every time. You know, that's not the way it works. Some of the greatest things I've ever put together were things that I thought was going wrong that I turned out right with. It is also National Weed Your Garden Day. I know my sister spent a lot of time weeding her garden today, and she was so happy when she's done. Maybe you don't grow a garden particularly, but we're going to talk later about a way you can weed your garden as well. So let's talk about when things don't go as planned. What about you? How many times have you planned something and it just didn't work out the way you thought it would? Maybe it was a disappointment. Maybe it was a good thing. You know, one of my mother's favorite sayings was, "Smarty, Smarty threw a party and nobody came." Well, in one of my many careers in this lifetime, I actually did home parties. So I did like Tupperware, I did copper craft, stuff like that. And we always told people to invite, like 3 or 4 times more people than you would expect to be there. And then if you get your little handful of closest buddies there, then it's a success. I would drive up to an hour, unpack all my stuff, set it all up, and the poor hostess would have maybe 1 or 2 people there. And then I'd have to pack my stuff all back up and bring it back home. One of the things that typically would go wrong is that the hostess did not follow the very well laid out instructions. Sometimes they'd be so afraid that too many people would come, so they wouldn't invite more than their living room could hold. The bottom line is people get busy, they're doing other things, and maybe they're not really in the mood for any Tupperware. They got all they can take, When those parties start and it goes from one person to another person to another person. Oh, sometimes when we build things, they don't come out the way that we planned them. Sometimes that's for better. Sometimes it's for worse. But very often, if it doesn't come out the way we planned it, the reason it doesn't come out the way we planned it is because we might have had a plan, but we didn't follow it. And that's another thing that I want to talk about today. So last night I was trying to do my first messenger rooms. And I got excited and I made my little cheese and crackers and got my little beverage ready and everything. And I signed on and I sat here and sat here and sat here and nobody came. That isn't how I thought I'd planned it. So I found out later that at least one person was trying to get into the room but couldn't get in. Apparently, I had done something wrong. If anybody else tried to get into the room and couldn't, please let me know. So I planned something and it didn't work out. Now, I could say, well, that stinks. I'm not going to do that ever again. Or I could say, I'm going to think about that and I'm going to think about what I could do different. That's the whole clue. When something doesn't go as planned, it doesn't mean there's any ominous reason why it didn't go bad, that nobody loves you, that, whatever. I mean, I look at the obvious flaws, short notice, limited number of people invited, and then I'd never done it before. And I wasn't really sure how it worked. I thought I followed the directions, so I have to have a new plan. You're not going to see that for a while, though, because I'm going to do some experimenting first. That's the best way. I'm going to get me some friends who are willing to just play with it with me and experiment so I can do it right. But I still hope one day I'll get that messenger thing room going, especially as I introduce, the classes, the online lessons for Rise of the False Gods, because I think that is so important and has so much really good and helpful information in it. Can you think about what didn't go as planned recently? Did you have an event planned? A dinner? Did you try to make something that didn't come out planned? To grow something, to build something, to write something, to get a budget going that works? You got to watch the word budget, The word budget means small purse. Nobody wants a small purse. Well, I like small purses, but I like big funding for it. So you want to just use caution there. That's a little metaphysical aside. So try to think, after we're done with our visit today, try to think of something that hasn't gone right. And then try to figure out why it did not go right. We've been talking about it for 88 days. Cause and effect. What causes did you send forth? And what effect did you get? And what is the connection between the two? Sometimes when we plan something and it doesn't go right, something wonderful comes out of it. For example, one of my favorite things in the world, Post-its. Post-its were not supposed to be what they are. The creator of the Post-it had an entirely different thing in mind. It was creating a particular kind of glue. And what they wound up with was the Post-it. And I am so glad they do, because I consider myself to be the queen of Post-its. I use them all the time. Now, a key when things don't go the way you planned, the key is to not give up. Seek what went wrong and then change it. And I'm going to use today's National Day calendar things to kind of explain how we do these things. For example, the kitchen klutz. You know, I went to school for 4 years to learn cooking, and I'm good at it. I am, and it's not because I'm so wonderful. It's because I learned it for 4 years, and I'm wonderful because I kept practicing it. I've been cooking for 60 years. That's a long time, so I darn well better be able to cook, and I love to cook. And when I was first married, if I was cooking something and it did not come out good, before my husband got home, I threw it in the trash and made something else. And sometimes what I made was way better than what I'd planned. It happens. But I didn't quit and I didn't cry and tell him he had to take me out to dinner. When I was in seminary, I was writing one of my most important thesis papers. I was writing my credo. And that's really important. You have to have your credo together before you can be ordained. And I forgot something very important. As I was typing away on my black screen with orange letters, does that tell you how long ago it was? And I was typing away, all of a sudden, something happened. And my entire credo paper that I'd been working on and working on disappeared. I hadn't saved it. Well, I have a great friend, Reverend Helen Nelson, who was a classmate of mine, and I don't remember what her problem was, but she also, her credo paper wasn't ready, and I think she didn't have a computer. So what we did is we pulled an all-nighter. So I would work for 2 hours on the computer and take a nap while she spent 2 hours on the computer and take a nap while I went back for another 2 hours. And in the morning, I had a credo paper that was far better than the one that I had originally written. I think sometimes when God knows we may be making a mistake, we may forget to hit that save, but something so much better comes out of it. So remember that. Now, it's also Weed Your Garden Day, and I told you I would go back to that again. You also have a mind, a garden in your mind, okay? And that is where things grow. What grows in your mind are seed thoughts. They can be something you heard, something you saw, something you thought, something you read. But a seed thought is planted in your head. It could be anything. The thought that comes to my mind right now is many, many years ago, when I was less awakened than I am now. If I approached a group of people, say in the lunchroom at school, and if they were talking and stopped when I approached, my mind, that seed was planted in my mind that said, they're talking about me. They don't like me. They're plotting. This is awful. What if the seed that was planted was a weed and not a valuable seed? They could have been talking about something that they shouldn't be doing, that they were planning to do, or something good like a surprise party. You know, the seed thoughts. We have a tree out in our front yard, and I don't know what kind of a tree it is, and I don't want to tell you right now what we call it, but it's a tree that has these little long little white seed things that at this time of the year burst open and fluff. It's like itty bitty dandelion fluff, except there's bazillions of them, and they blow all around, and it actually looks like it's snowing. Those are all the ideas that are out there that come to us in any way. They even come to us from within our own mind sometimes, our own subconscious. We will see something in the outer that will remind us of something in our own life from the past, and there we are, we're in it again. That's not a good thing. Those weeds have to be recognized as weeds and yanked out. And you know, another interesting point, not everything we think is a weed is actually a weed. To us, dandelions are weeds. We want them gone. Some people love to eat dandelion greens. Other people like to make dandelion wine. I tried that once. It didn't come out well. It came out like bitter orange and lemon juice. It was very bad. That went away. But just because we call a dandelion a weed doesn't mean it's not good. It can be good as we make it. One of those thoughts could be if we choose to live a simple life as opposed to craving lots of money and things, you know? And so we would say, oh my goodness, not having anything makes me feel poor. It makes me feel less than. It makes me feel like a dandelion. But dandelions are cute and they're fun. And when they get those little poofs of seeds, you know I liked it when I was a child, and I especially when Tristan lived here in Connecticut and he was like 3 years old, and we would walk through the campground and pick dandelions with the fluff and teach him how to blow all the fluff off. Gosh, that was priceless. So I don't look at dandelions the way that other people look at dandelions. And sometimes we dig them up, and we dig up all things in our yard because it's not beautiful grass, you know, expensive Kentucky bluegrass or whatever it is people want. And we take out a lot of other beautiful and important things that come from nature that really should be growing in there, you know? Just think on that. Okay, so not everything we think is bad, but we got to look for the things that are causing us to hold negative thoughts, negative emotions, and weed them out of our mind garden. The more that we clear our mind, the more open we are to receive new and good ideas. It's like when you clean the closet and you kind of get rid of the stuff you want to donate, and you organize everything, and you saw all this stuff you thought you forgot that you even had, and it looks so good. And when it is that clean and that neat, you're going to find that your thought processes are also neater. As you organize your house, your stuff, you organize your mind. Now, I would like to share about the random acts of light. On Monday, can't believe it was just Monday, so a few days ago, a friend of ours, one of our people that we met through the campground, and we fell in love with her and her husband over the whole 8 years that we've been here, and came here to camp with us. And she was just young and beautiful, and she loved life, and she lived life fully. Her name was Kathy, but we called her the Screamer. Because when they'd be out playing corn toss, you could hear her joy when she hit something good. She would just scream and have a good time. She was here Memorial Day, for the Memorial Day weekend, and then they left. And 1 week later, she was gone. And it was from cancer. And the only the real comfort that I feel in her loss is that she knew how to live a good life. None of us know. None of us had a thought that this young, vibrant, beautiful, healthy, she had a fitness studio, for God's sake. No one had a thought that in the last time we saw her, it would be just, Memorial Day to now, and she'd be gone. And it was cancer. And I know from losing Sammy, there's little anyone can actually say that helps, aside from just letting them, know they're there. But when I lost Sammy, I started to write. I wrote a weekly synopsis, taking me through my journey that I shared with others, and it was called Lessons in Loss. So today I tried to shine a little light in her husband's heart the best I could, just by sending him a copy of Lessons in Love, a Loss, hoping that maybe even one thing I wrote in those 6 weeks after her path, from the time she died through the passing. Each of us has a light within, and sometimes it's when things don't go the way we planned, when we lose a loved one, when we have a financial stress, when disease hits, anything like that. But that doesn't mean we have lost our light. We can share the light that we look, from what we learned from our experience. We can share that light with others. And I would invite you to do that today. And if there's one thing that I feel would bless you most from what I wanted to share today, it is when something doesn't go as planned. What I say? Don't give up. Look for what went wrong. Try again. And know that life is meant to be good. And we are meant to be filled with joy and happiness, even if we're here at home. Of course, I love my home, so it's a good thing. I'll let you go for now. I'm going to go do all my floss and brush and cream on the face and stuff and go to bed. But don't forget, we're doing church in the morning. I'm going to try to do it around 11 o'clock. So just look for me then. And meanwhile, have a pleasant evening and sweet dreams, and know that I behold the divinity in you. Namaste. God bless you.